and welcome to the Meta Chasers, Warhammer 40k style. My name is Paul, your host, joined by Adam Camilleri.
G'day, everybody.
And Dustin
As usual,
Henshaw.
I'm adjusting my camera after we start the show. As is tradition.
Yeah. Professionally, every week, unless you looked at the channel last week or the week before.
Correct.
Most weeks. No, honestly, thank you everyone for your patience. We'd love to be back. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. We have been traveling all over the globe doing stuff. I feel like the last time that we actually got together was around the Gen Con time period. And got to say, what's up? I believe it was Alex and his lovely partner came by and said hello, did some demos there at the booth. It was great hanging out with y'all. Sorry it took me this long to say what's up, but here we are back into the swing of things. And I mean swinging for the fences. We have some amazing stuff to bring to you this week. A good shout out to Where is World War Games Live? Charity Hammer. This has become an annual event where a bunch of 40K superstars get together and try to raise money for charity. Help them out. Go watch some of the stream. Do what you can. Delighted to talk about this event.
40K will be running non-stop for the next 72 hours. It just started this morning. So you have incredible players playing amazing stuff, all for a good cause. 3 days straight. You got no reason not to check some of it out.
If even just to help with the clicks and the views, so other people may be inspired to do some donation for the great causes.
Have it on in the background while you work. You know, that's what I do.
Yeah. Just give it a signal boost. In addition, for every $30 that you donate through all their active links, you get essentially a ticket into their prize draw. And I think it's just about almost every hour they will be drawing prizes from those tickets. So if you buy early, you're in the prize draw for longer, and you got the more chances to be in that pool and win stuff. And they got thousands of dollars worth of stuff to give away. So absolutely get on it if you can donate. I know these are some tough times financially, but if you can give, please do.
Well, there's a bunch of different ways to support, and so whatever way is right for you, but we're happy we can talk about it and tell you about that it's going to be there. And if you can, awesome. You heard it here. We have another shout out I want to give. And we're not even into the main body of the show. There's so much to unpack and do here. Another shout out is a 50-player tournament in Shanghai. Golden ticket qualifier for the finale for the Open Series World Championships of Warhammer in Atlanta, qualifying all corners of the globe. How awesome is that?
It's so cool. 50 players, 5 rounds. They've got a pretty healthy meta over there, and it's absolutely stupendous that someone from that corner of the meta will be in attendance at Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, remember back at WGC, I talked to a lot of the players there that played China for the first time, their team that they brought, and they were good. They're bringing the heat, so be ready.
Yep.
We talk about these World Championships of Warhammer. There were 46 countries represented there last year. I think there's going to be 60-something countries represented from around the world.
Where almost 50 in the first year. It's wild.
Yeah, countries sending contingents of players to go and compete at this finale in Atlanta. We're going to talk about that a couple times during the course of this broadcast. You'll see why here in a second. The events we're going to run down is the Crucible 2024, Smite Club Open, and the 40K Italian GT Road to Atlanta. So cool to hear Road to Atlanta coming out of Italy.
Yeah, exactly right. And this is their golden ticket qualifier. So it's all starting to rack up now as we're T-minus 2 months to the big dance.
Yeah, I can't wait. Also, grand narrative going on. So if you're talking about it and you haven't qualified, and you still want to come participate in Atlanta and see what's going on and be a part of the show, the grand narrative is also happening there. So more to come on that from various podcasts and vlogs and people's stuff. You don't want to miss it. But this, like you were talking about, Adam, right now, heating up as players scrapping to get these final ticket opportunities to come and be a part of the World Championships. And we're going to be bringing you as many of as we possibly can.
Absolutely. What's first on the docket?
The Crucible 2024, Orlando, Florida. This is the Crucible 2024. It might as well be the 2024th time this event has been run. It now has been happening. I think this is Crucible. It is 22 or something like that. It's a convention that's been going down, and there's a 40K tournament that happens at the same time, I believe, and it is a venerable event in this region, and players show up and show out for it. 117 of them, as a matter of fact, over the course of 7 rounds. Dustin, what are we going to see there?
For the Imperial Super faction, there are 9 Sisters of Battle, 2 Custodes, 4 Admech, 4 Astra Militarum, 4 Grey Knights, and 7 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's 3 Astartes, 6 Dark Angels, 5 Blood Angels, and 2 Black Templar. Chaos, there's 7 Chaos Space Marines, 5 T-Suns, 2 Death Guard, 2 World Leaders, 7 Demons, and 5 Chaos Knights. Xenos, there's 10 Necrons, 4 Orcs, 7 Town, 5 Votan. Hive Mind, 5 Tyranids, and 2 G's to their cult. Woo! Love it. Eldari, there's 2 Drukhari and 7 Eldari, meaning the faction podium is Necrons, topping it off with 10. Adeptus Sororitas, right behind them with 9. And then Eldar, Tau, Demons, Chaos Space Marines, and Imperial Knights tied in third with 7. That's pretty healthy.
Wow.
Necrons at the top,
It is.
though.
You'll find that's not unusual for this week for some reason. Necrons are going to be on every podium for every event that we're covering, either in first or second place. And I'm not here to tell you why that is happening, but I'm just telling you that it is.
Well, did you happen to peep if it was? Well, actually, before we jump into that, I actually have been remiss in some of my duties.
Uh-oh.
Can I go back and correct the sins of 2 minutes ago?
Do it. We can't change the past, but
we will allow it.
Change.
We do this live each and every Thursday where we have an active chat community. And if you are listening to us after the fact, know that you can come and hang out with the great folks in chat. Folks like KR, Nergalmat, Steve, who just talked about a tournament happening in Mexico. Sindri, who is also, I believe, in the Atlanta area, and the others that do this live. We have a great chat community. Come if you're coming to one of these big events you think we might cover, come and call your shot in the chat with us each and every event or each and every week live. We do this live. Okay, back on track. Sorry.
Yeah, outside the top 2, this is a fantastic spread. Like the middle of the pack here of the meta is actually really beautiful. A couple of Space Marines, Dark Angels, Blood Angels hanging in there, and then we also have the 4 packs. Cult Mechanicus, like Admech getting good representation, Guard and Grey Knights, good representation. Thousand Suns, strong representation there, as well as Chaos Knights, Orcs, Votan, Tyranids. Like essentially, if we were to do a top 5 of this faction podium, which we usually only do for like 200 plus player events, we do a top 5. This one would be like almost all bar like 6 factions would have made this top 5 podium. So it is a very healthy meta there in Orlando. Also, I need to point out that for the first time in what feels like forever, the entire Art of War crew is playing at an event.
Whoa!
So Nanavati, Seagler, Harpster, Lennon. Yeah, it absolutely is stacked. So it's going to be a very interesting one. What'll be really interesting is if none of those boys win it. That is spicy. It gets spicy.
It gets kind of tough, like with the fact you're talking about the meta being what it is and how the factions are all shaken out. It's because there are, I guess we can argue that Adeptus Sororitas people feel like that is one of the top lists out there.
Yeah.
But that's like
same with Necrons. I mean, like they're really good singles lists.
Yeah, so I think we've all accepted that Adeptus Sororitas are the list with the least bad matchups.
Yeah.
And more ability to play into everything in the field, with the exception of a couple of very key skews. Those being pretty much 2 Horde lists. That being Chaos Space Marine Horde and what's been called Black Tide, which is Primaris Crusaders in Black Templars. But if you'll see, there's only 2 Black Templar players in attendance at this event, whereas there are 9 Sisters of Battle. So
that's a big hobby lift to get all those ready.
I have 40 and I'm not getting any more. I don't care enough.
Doing it at all? Not even thinking about it?
Not doing it.
My wrist hurts just thinking about it. And my back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my wrist hurts.
GSE player.
With the Sororitas being like what is maybe a shoulder above some of the other lists at the top tier, that means that a lot of these lists only have to make maybe a couple concessions to deal with them, and then they play well into every single thing, and that's a known quantity. The Adeptus Sororitas right now are a known quantity. I'm not saying there's a good stop for them. I'm just saying that they're a known quantity.
Well, I want to go, this is my hot take. I don't believe there is an S tier faction. And traditional, we would classify by competitive top tier, like the best list you can make for said faction would denote putting them in a competitive tier from D all the way up till S. And S is usually reserved for the 1 or 2 lists that are so much better than everybody else that given 2 players of equal skill, that list would win almost every time. I don't think there is an S tier faction. I think if anything, we have an A+ in Sisters, which is, and that's it. And the rest is just a bunch of A's, bunch of B's, and a couple of C's. I don't think I'm not sure there's a D tier faction now either. But yeah, I think the meta's in an extremely good place. But let's jump over and have a look at some of the top players in attendance. First up, we have Mike Muzeni, who is ranked number 2 in the USA in South in the ITC, playing 1,000 Suns. And of course, we are to the pointy end of the season. When we tick over kind of into the last 6 months of the ITC season, we will always go and see who is the top player in the ITC rankings in that region, and usually we'll give you that. In this case, I've also given you one of the spicy takes from one of the other Warboys, because it's been a while since Richard Seagler's played in a major, so I wanted to have a look at what he's doing with that deck.
So that's just the second spoiler. We got to put warnings.
Yeah, warning labels. We got to start getting some warning labels. We gotta find some
just get a big, just get a bell, get the spoiler bell. I'll just ring it. But he's got his Cult of Magic detachment, Ironman on disc, 2 Exalted Sorcerers on disc, one with Lord of Forbidden Lore and one with the Unbelievable Crystal, which we usually don't see taken on Sorcerers at the moment. We usually see them played on regular Sorcerers or on Infernal Masters. We have an Infernal Master with Arcane Vortex and Magnus, of course, 10, and then 555 rubrics, making total of 25 in total, a single Rhino, 2 Vortex Beasts, and 3x3 Enlightened. So no cultists in this one, but a good amount of rubrics, a good amount of support characters. What's interesting is that in a lot of Thousand Suns lists recently, I've been seeing Exalted Sorcerers run by themselves. They don't attach to squads. And because of that, we're usually seeing more like 15 to 20 rubrics. And usually we haven't seen the Big 10 in a while, because of course the play with the Big 10 is to chuck an Unbelievable Crystal on it, usually with a Infernal Master, and then bomb that thing over, smash a flank, and have your way with them. But the Exalted Sorcerers in this one kind of almost having to join squads at times is going to make things interesting, because the rubrics without a attached character are kind of like way worse than when they've got an attached character. But this is an interesting one. I think this list is still very, very, very good. And straight up, I've had enough of Thousand Suns. I've just had enough. I've had enough of their shenanigans.
And those 2 Vortex Beasts are almost in every single Thousand Suns list that I've seen played against and whatever in the last month and a half, 2 months.
Correct. We're kind of getting into the meta of the thick suns, as people have started to call them. Not the Thousand Suns, they're the thick suns, because they're trying to play a bit more of a durability game. And we've also seen, at times there's Forge Fiends, at times there's Vindicators, at times there's Predators going in tow with your, bunch of rubrics and Magnus, Ahriman, etc. I have seen Ahriman being dropped more than ever before. Like I'd never seen a list without at least an Ahriman either on foot or on disc for the vast majority of this edition. And then the last couple of weeks, I've seen a couple start to drop Ahriman, which I think is very interesting. Yeah, it is wild.
But Magnus is staying.
Nah, Magnus is
I have actually seen a couple lists start to take rubrics without characters as well, though. Like actual specifically rubrics without characters. I feel like maybe cultists or the Enlightened kind of do that job, but rubrics by themselves are at least a little extra bit durable to be a pain to deal with, so you have to commit a little bit more into them, and they're not as big an investment as well for the T-Suns player. So I see it. Yeah,
and I do like that he's got the 10 here, so that he can put the Unbelievable Crystal with it in a game where that's going to be a play. If not, just Infernal Master in a Rhino, push it up, make it a problem. There's a couple of different things you can definitely do there. But let's jump down and have a look at the next list, which I did spoil.
No, we don't know who it is. Oh.
No, who is it going to be? It's Richard Seagler, 2-time.
Really?
That's 2-time.
That's crazy.
2-time ITC winner. The only 2-time ITC winner
Did not see
in
that
the world. That's a Mechanicus, Skitari Hunter cohort. Are you done? You done, Dustin? You want to do it again? You done? You got some more?
I got a lot, but I'll let you go.
All right. He's got 3 marshals, one with the Battlesphere uplink. I can't remember what that does. Somebody look it up in chat. Tell me. Geez. Remind me what that one does. 10 Rangers and then 40 Vanguard, 4x10. 4 Dune Riders, so quite transport heavy. 10 5/5 Skystalkers, which are the other Skystalkers, the double move, the move again. I believe they are. So this is a bit of the bird. That's the bird jail feel.
The shoot and scoot ones.
Shoot and scoot.
Yeah.
If they shoot when they're not in range of a battle line unit, I can't remember if it's 6 or 12 inches. They move 6. If they're
that's what the Battlesphere uplink also gives a unit as well.
I thought so.
Okay.
But I didn't want to say it to sound like an idiot on here.
No, beautiful. Thank you, work, Paul. I love your work. Getting the info. So a bit of bird jail here, as in those 10 Skystalkers do have some kind of relevant anti-infantry guns, and then when within 6 of a unit of battle line, they'll just move twice. They'll just move 24 inches. And they can do that off the deep strike as well. So they can deep strike down, shoot, and move 12 and so you can find yourself really locked down. 3 Cerberus Raiders, 2x5 Infiltrators, 3 Scorpius Disintegrators.
Ooh,
so they're trying to play the
spicy.
battle tank game too,
Spicy.
because they're ostensibly a Lehman Russ, like when you trim it down. And then Karia Draxus to make one of the units of Vanguard and all the single unit of Rangers kind of untargetable, hard to shoot, and also give them a little bit of indirect fire. So yeah, that is Richard Seagler's list. And like I said, it's been a while since I've seen Richard at a major, so I definitely wanted to see what he thinks will hang. How do you boys feel about it?
I do like this list. I've been actually talking up Disintegrators for a while, but everybody's been shutting them down. But here's Seagler with them, so I want to see.
Yep.
I want to see.
Yeah, this is, I think people playing AdMech have been struggling to crack the code, and their hobby lift list to where, like, most people have Space Marines that can just go grab any number of units off of their shelf or whatever. AdMech is not one of those, and this is one of those lists that has like a mixture of things that came out in all different time periods, like different eras of the game. And so I think it's that in and of itself that exists, that phenomenon exists, has stuttered and delayed the fact that folks crack the code on what this might be effective from this list. Has Richard done it? Well, if anyone could, it is a 2-time ITC winner.
You gotta remember too, we're in a meta right now where anything can happen. Like any army is actually capable of winning. We had GSC win a GT.
Yep.
Not.
Yep.
While that may be true, it has been very rare for the AdMech to be at the top of that list.
That's true. That's true.
But there's been no list like this yet that I've seen.
I'm curious to see. And I mean, like you said, if anyone can figure it out, it'll be the guy that did it while they were already one of the worst armies and won LVO with it. So
exactly right. Yeah. Well, he went and won the ITC with
exactly.
back a couple of years ago. But this list is really good. It's just really good value units, MSU style, and 3 good tanks. So you can't really go on with it. And in fact, I keep making comparisons between this list and Guard, because this list feels very Guard-like to me. The only thing it's missing is like a Bullgrin-esque unit, which they just don't have. AdMech just doesn't have that.
Sky Suckers take that place as move blockers instead of sit on objectives and block stuff.
Well, yeah, like similar to like Rough Riders, where you just extra move Rough Riders and just block people up. Or in your case, it would be blacks. It'll be Jackals. Attalin Jackals.
Yeah. And I'm going to also point, I think 7 good tanks here because of the Scorpius Dune Riders with their fire support rule.
That's true.
In your shooting phase, after this model has shot, select one enemy unit scored at 1 or more hits, the reroll wounds, not even wounds, allows a unit to disembarks from that to get reroll wounds against whatever that is. And I think that's going to
have some decent shooting, especially with
decent
Marshals
guns,
rerolling all their hits. Like,
when you add it all together, it's got a huge amount of special weapons in this army. So yeah, big fan, and Richard should do quite well. And seeing as that we are this is the first week of September, we get to have a fresh month of our shenanigans and our picks. I'm roll the dice because it's a fresh month. I can't remember who won last one, but 1, 2, Dustin gets to pick first. 3, 4, I get to pick. 5, 6, Paul gets to pick. It is Dustin. It is Dustin gets to pick first.
Ooh.
All right, mate. What do you want?
Well, I'm actually going to take Dark Angels.
You son of a
man.
You absolute son of son of a ball.
I don't know. I have a feeling about them.
You should have a feeling about them.
I don't know what it is.
Lennon's playing his WTC.
Oh, is he? I had no idea. I had no idea.
Betting that Lennon won't make a podium is kind of wild. Dustin, what would you like? Sorry, Paul, what would you like?
I was like, he has 2 picks now. Is that how
let's go again.
I don't win.
He has to pick another one because it takes the place of Dark Angel, so I can pick it. So pick again, Dustin. You're not allowed to have that one. I vect it. I vect that pick.
I will go with the Adeptus Sororitas.
That's a strong pick too. I'm gonna go Grey Knights.
That's a good pick.
Yeah, I'm picking Harpster
so
pretty much.
He's just talked up Seagler and then didn't even pick him.
I actually think Seagler's list might lose to Harpster's list, which is the right reason. It's pretty much what. None of Vadi's there too, playing Chaos Space Marines. It's hard not to pick him. But Jack's playing triple Terminator brick Grey Knights, and I think that's a list that's very good at getting like 5-point wins against a lot of the field.
True.
So I'm going to back that.
All right.
That sounds pretty good. Next event we're going to be talking about is the Smite Club Open. That is in Phoenix, Arizona. 110 players, 6-round event. What will be there?
For the Imperial Super Faction, there are 6 Sisters of Battle, 5 Custodes, 3 Admech, 5 Astra Militarum, 5 Grey Knights, and 2 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's 5 Dark Angels, 4 Space Wolves, 6 Blood Angels, and 2 Black Templar. Chaos, there's 2 Chaos Space Marines, 2 T-Suns, 6 Death Guards, 7 World Eaters, 6 Demons, and 1 single lone Chaos Knight. Xenos, there's 8 Necrons, 5 Orcs, 6 Tau, 5 Votan. Hive Mind, there's 2 Tyranids and 2 Gene Stealer Cult. Eldari, there's 3 Drukhari and 9 Eldari, meaning the faction podium is Eldari topping this one off with 9. Necrons right behind them again with 8, and then World Eaters right behind them with 7. World Eaters actually out in force this weekend too.
Yeah. World Eaters showing in good numbers the world over. This is an interesting meta in the Greater Arizona area. It's one that we don't get to shine a light on that much, and so I did have a little bit of trouble unpacking this, but I did look at a lot of the Eldari list, and I can anecdotally say there are a lot more avatars being taken than I'd say last weekend.
Really?
So,
yeah. Last weekend there were actually 2 avatars on the stream, on the Games Workshop stream. So they seem to be like a choice that are making their way back into the list, and I can't say I mind that, because as someone who is an Eldari enthusiast as well, I love that model.
Wait, you mean double avatar or just 2 Eldari?
There are. I think I saw 2 lists that had Yinkan and Kane,
wow.
But most of them were going more Kane than Yinkan. What I think is happening here is that people are getting quite good at playing Eldari because they're playing the same archetype for, extensively since the Wraith Knight got killed, which we're all happy about. There was dancing in the streets. It was fantastic. But since then, it's been MSU all the way. And people are getting really quite good at playing against that. People are getting a bunch of reps. And so what do you do when everyone's got a bunch of reps into your thing? You play the same army, but you add a single uber durable piece back in. And all of a sudden, it really mixes it up and really changes what your opponent thinks they're going to play into and how that list is going to interact with them. So I quite like the pick. I quite like the choice. But the single list that we picked out, this one, I looked at a bunch of lists. Like I said, I looked at almost all the Eldari lists. But then I saw this list of Don Hooson. Oh. So Don Hooson went and won the BAO, I think, in early 8th edition, pretty much with this list.
Known for being a Death Guard faction specialist, for sure.
A Death Guard faction specialist. And I got to say, when I looked at this list, I had to call it Bringing Sexy back circa 2018, because that's what it felt like to me. I can't remember what year he won it, so I just made it up. 2018 sounds good to me. He's played Death Guard Plague Company. This is a full mechanized list. It's got Typhus with no one to join. So he's rocking solo, which I still like. I actually quite like. Mortarion and a Tallyman with the droning, no one to join. A Hellbrute, 2 Predator Destructors, 2 Bloat Drones, 2 single Blight Haulers, 2 Plague Burst Crawlers, and a Knight Despoiler with double Gatling Cannons.
Wow. This is like
that's the list. Dead set that night. He played that night 100%. I'm convinced, and I remember him playing that night in the event he won the BAO with. And I'm just like, he's just like, well, what is old is new again, and I'll just see what was I up to 6 years ago. Oh yeah, I'll just play that again.
That makes sense. I got those models at least. I know
the list is probably still on the shelf. It's like ready.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ready
in its own little shrine. Just break it out and go for it.
Put it in a cabinet next to the Pelt of Rust, which is what you get for winning the BAO. So, and he just like scooped it back out, and off he goes again.
A lone Typhus. I have seen that used before.
I love it. I love the lone
Typhus.
A
lot, actually.
So Typhus has a very powerful attack, and can also deep strike. So why not throw him in there? Almost like by himself for 80 points, he's almost like a full unit of Plasma Inceptors.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly right. He just deep strikes in as a single model unit. He's fantastic for getting behind enemy lines, occasional fronts, things of that ilk. And he'll also blow up a utility unit by himself from range. He'll just like 5 scouts on an objective, deep strike in, get behind enemy lines for a couple of points. Or
1 YOLO charge. He's killed 2 units now.
I've fought against a single Typhus at least 10 times for the last couple of months, and he has never failed the charge. So obviously, he just...
Yikes! If only we're all so lucky. What's the droning do? Anybody remember?
I don't think I've seen it.
That's fair. Also,
yeah. Let me look it up.
I'll quickly get to it. No, it's going to take me 2 seconds.
Rely on Paul for this. He's the Death Guard guy.
Yeah. So contagion range. Each time a unit fails a battle shock test, roll a d6 on a 2 through 5. That unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, the unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. I feel like this is more of a point concession than a utility. It's points.
That makes sense.
He just had that. He just had that much left over. I'm assuming that means the Tallyman's going to hang out on his home objective and try and generate him some extra CP. Yeah. And then every now and then try and try and take it. Oh, I'm going to battle shock you, flip you, take some models. But yeah, the list is cute. It all works together pretty well. Like the Hellbrute supports the units quite well. The bloat drones go up early, and the Blight Horse play the flanks, whilst your PBCs kind of just hang out and do some spot damage. A single Knight to Spoiler is kind of cute. I can't remember what the Spoiler does. Is it one reroll to hit, one reroll to wound as its special rule? But it's got 18 shot, strength 6, -2 damage guns. Like he's tooled up to smash Marines.
And one quick note about Typhus too is that Eater of Plagues psychic power has an 18-inch range and is not a shooting attack. So
Correct.
low knot means nothing.
Yep, that is correct.
That is a very important thing to remember for people that have a lot of lone ops. I personally use a lot of them, so I always have to ask that question before playing it. Okay, what do you have that can shoot my lone ups that's not shooting?
Yeah. Yeah, and the Despoiler does have the you can reroll 1 hit roll or 1 wound roll. So it's pretending it's an Imperial Knight.
That
so to speak.
It really is like a night list. It's like a Chaos Night list.
It is Chaos Knight list, mate. It's dead set. It is Chaos Knight with different auras. Instead of the minus battle shock and take battle shock stuff, it's just like minus toughness or save or weapon skill. I do like that it has the ability to flex. Like the Knight to Spoiler, when you take the minus armor save, and then the Knight Spoiler is rocking pseudo AP3 on 36 strength 6 -2 damage shots. That shreds. That absolutely shreds.
He can cause some serious target priority confusion too. Like he could technically just drive those predators and everything forward, and your opponent's like, "Oh, what do I shoot at?"
Oh yeah, Plague versus
exactly
they're going to run forward in those games for sure. For sure.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, still got Mortarion in there to give it all a bit of buff, to give it all a bit of bits and pieces, and like he's so much like less worth shooting than the Knight is. Like you look at I could shoot the guy who's got a pistol that draws a line, or the one that literally throws a bucket of freaking dice at me. I think I'm going to shoot the Knight, and it's so funny. It's so cute.
But
anyway,
making those players on the other side of the table make that gut check. Like they have to pass their own battle shock before they figure out, what the right thing to shoot at is.
All right, time to pick some choices. I went last. So I'm gonna go first here because that's how we go. I'll pick the Necrons.
Ooh, okay.
Dustin went first, so Paul goes second.
Oh, I wasn't prepared yet.
Right, Dustin, you go then.
I'm gonna go Blood Angels.
There you go.
Yeah, default. Dustin, what would you like?
I'll take this this Death Guard. This specific one. This specific one.
Easy, that one. Dons specifically.
All right,
we
won't hold you to that, but that works. So if you are just tuning in for the first time,
absolutely will.
If you're just tuning in for the first time, we make these predictions, and then for our second part of the show, which is only available to tier 2 and above Patreon subscribers, we run down the events from the previous weekend and score ourselves, see how well we did. We get points based on how well, if we called the top 3, how our prediction shook out in that top 3, we get points, and we give ourselves some good-natured ribbing and talk about what did win in the list, break down the list that happened. That's one of the things to look forward to on that Patreon, if you are so inclined to participate over there.
Many zingers to be had in addition.
But this is a whole nother show we publish just for the subscribers, and you get in the Discord and all that kind of stuff. It's fun times. The next event we're going to be talking about is the 40K Italian GT Road to Atlanta. This is in Milan, Italy. 82 players, 5-round event. I love seeing Road to Atlanta in a tournament.
Yeah.
All the way around the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Well, because look, it obviously, we know everybody knows this is my hometown or whatever, but this is the fact that it's a huge event for the World Championships of Warhammer, to have all these countries being able to participate and then come and see who stack up their medal against players they would have never played against in any other setting if this opportunity and this event did not exist. And it was great last year. It's going to get better and better and better. Can't wait as we barrel towards it to see who all wins and who all can come and compete with their country for their country. What are we going to see there?
Let's see. The Imperial faction, there are 6 Sisters of Battle, 1 Custode, 1 Admech, 3 Astra Militarum, 5 Grey Knights, and 3 Imperial Knights. Space Marines is 4 Adeptus Astartes, 4 Dark Angels, 4 Space Wolves, and 5 Blood Angels. Chaos, there's 2 Chaos Space Marines, 3 T-Suns, 6 World Eaters, again with the really high World Eaters representation, 2 Demons, 4 Chaos Knights, Xenos, 10 Necrons, yeah, okay, Necrons, you're right, they're everywhere, 3 Orcs, 6 Tau, 3 Votan, Hive Mind, there are 3 Tyranids, Eldari, there's 2 Drukhari at every single event that we covered this week.
Every event.
And 2 Eldari. This would mean the faction podium is once again Necrons up there with 10, and then Sisters right behind them, but this time they're tied with World Eaters and Tau at 6, and then Blood Eaters and Grey Knights right behind them with 5. So Necrons really overrepresented in this one, and then kind of
correct
spreads out nicely afterwards, but.
Almost 50% more Necrons than anything else. Like we go through a bit of a silver cliff there, where it's like Necrons at 10, Sisters, Tower, World Eaters at 6. So there's like 4 difference. So I don't know what everyone's realizing about Necrons and how good they are. In like, I mean, no one can doubt that they're an exceptionally good singles list, but are they the best in the game again?
But did you check out the detachments on these? Because we've seen a shift more towards the Awakened Dynasty away from Hypercrypt, and I wonder if that's kind of empowered some other players to take a look at that faction again.
Well, I did have a look at fair few Necron lists, and still majority are Hypercrypt.
Got it. It's hard to complain with that mobility they get.
Oh, yeah.
Correct. It's so flexible. I do feel like the Awakened Dynasty lists need a bit more prep, and they kind of they got a bit of a burden to be like more battle tested, more reps in them before you're willing to jump over to jump off Hypercrypt, because Hypercrypt just gives you such a safety blanket, and I personally think Awakened Dynasty is just as good, but it's hard to convince a player when they've got 40 reps in on the Hypercrypt to jump on it when they've got 5 reps.
They may be able to manifest a win just off of that maneuverability. I get you.
So to that end, of course, with Necrons heavily represented all weekend, I needed to pull out a Necron list at some point, and this is it. So this is played by Francesco de Bonaventura, who was a representative for Team Italy at the WTC this year. And he, of course, is playing Hypercrypt Legion. He has Foktan. He has Nightbringer, Void Dragon, 2 Transcendent Catans, 2 Hexmark Destroyers, one of which is his Warlord, 15 Hexmarks in 3x5, 5 Flayed Ones, 3 single Locust Destroyers, and a Monolith. So it is 4 Catan and a Monolith, and then MSU nonsense. That's the list. Like just 4 beasties, a big old tank, and then a bunch of guys to get you points. I can't say it's bad.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying. And a lot of people thought that the Catan would go away with the Prior Nexus change, that you couldn't do the 3-inch deep strike on them. It turns out to be absolute not the case. Like, they are absolutely amazing still. I'm not crazy about Transcendent Catans, but I see when you just take an overwhelming amount of them, they win you games.
Yeah,
and there's still one of the very few things in the game. I mean, it's probably them, Bulgrin, Deathwing Knights, and maybe a couple of other units that you can realistically put on a middle objective turn 1 and think they're going to still be there to give you a primary score on turn 2. And the fact that you got 4 instances of that, whilst you put 1 on the objective and then 3 others jump around, you redeploy them and do shenanigans with the Monolith, with the Hex Marks, the Death Marks and the Hex Marks and all Locust Destroyers, just pulling units all over the place. The Monolith in this feels a little awkward.
It actually feels like I was going to say that too.
Yeah, what do you explain? What do you feel like?
Well, normally when you have a Monolith in there, you're going to bring some kind of melee with it or something that's really good to bring into.
And make 10 Immortals,
10 Immortals,
10 Lichguard.
10 Lichguard, even Scorpex sometimes. I've seen Scorpex being used to great effect with them too.
Correct. Scorpex, big unit of heavy destroyers.
20 warriors like even?
Yeah, 20 warriors. But yeah, the Monolith in this just feels like it's playing as another.
It's just another Catan, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just playing as another big deadly thing to just jump around.
Yep.
Also, I do love the fact that people have to constantly sweat over blocking a monolith-sized base.
Oh, it's so annoying.
Like I love the idea.
Monolith. I play against it a lot. It's just this monolith could literally appear anywhere on the board.
Correct. Yeah. I love making people sweat their bullets and be like, did I leave a monolith-sized gap? Like, because you feel like you just can't not feel like a fool. Like you've got like How?
It's
Like-
for sure your fault if that ever happens. Yeah.
It's a cinder block. How did I leave a cinder block sized gap in my lines?
I was looking at this list and I
Yeah.
was actually trying to scan for keywords. I don't see battle line in here
Nope.
at all.
No battle line.
Not a single battle line. That's because the cheapest battle line is 5 immortals, and whilst I do think 5 immortals is just fine to go on this list, flayed ones give you an infiltrate, as in like you need the flayed ones because they're the thing that'll stop you from possibly losing the game if you go second against Space Wolves or Chaos Cults or another one of the put you in jail lists,
Yeah.
which is it's kind of the worst thing for Hypercrypt to go into, because when you make Hypercrypt play for fair face up 40k, it's essentially doesn't have a detachment. You're playing without a detachment if you have to just deploy all your stuff and walk at your opponent. What was the point? You might as well be Awakened Dynasty because you get so much more return. So the flared ones hold board area, so you have to actually get to use your Hypercrypt stuff. The hex marks get their beautiful little trick where they arrive at awkward times for your opponent, and they can kind of steal flanks and do all sorts of
death
nonsense.
marks help you hold territory as well with their kind of 18-inch shoot.
Correct. And a little bit of precision goes a long way. I like hex marks. Sorry, death marks a lot. And yeah, hex marks exactly the same. The hex marks and the locust destroyers just being that tiny footprint that can arrive from reserve, be picked up, put down. They just score through the roof for you.
I'm starting to see how this list works. Like you keep your opponent guessing just enough to where you can really kind of herd them into certain areas of the board with your Satan and your Monolith.
Yeah. So this list wants to it's almost a yin and yang list. I've been inventing this term as in it like exists at two extremes of the spectrum. It's got extreme utility MSU in the case of its utility units and the small units, and then at the other end it's got extreme single model durability, the highest single model durability in the game. And so it's a yin and yang. It's got two absolute extremes represented, and what it wants to do is strip your screens and then make you screen with good units whilst it takes away the board. As soon as you have to start screening with damage dealing units, you lose your ability to kill Catan, because you can't bring all your forces to bear. Because there's no, I mean, like unit of 6 eradicators in Dev Doctrine in a Gladius, sure, that one shots at Catan. But there's like one unit of those in your army, and if it one shots at Catan then dies, he's still got 3 Catan and a monolith. So no problems. Happy days. Let's do that. That sounds like a good time.
Yep.
So it wants to make you screen with quality units, and then it just wins the game from there because you can't really kill the stuff. But yeah, great list by Francesco. Should do really well. It's time for the picks. I'm picking first, and yes, it will be Necrons.
Did I didn't get to pick first this entire time, did I?
Sorry, apologies.
No.
Yeah, Paul picks first. Paul picks first. Necrons.
Necrons.
Yeah, good man. Good man. It was the right thing to do.
If only out of spite at this point. It's like
I got the thing on me too. Dustin, what would you like?
I have no idea what the meta's like over there. I'm just gonna take Sisters.
Yeah, I was gonna do like default just to like the best thing we know in the meta.
Yep.
All right. Someone's got to back World Eaters. Someone's got to back World Eaters this weekend. They got good numbers. Let's do it.
They're everywhere.
I was feeling Tyranids though. I just wanted to let it be known. You got to figure out. Well, you got to come join in for part 2 to figure out if the intuition was right.
Who was right? Who was wrong?
And who was lucky?
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Although I will say that doing this for as long as we have, and I know y'all listening know this as well, is that there are certain trends that do develop in certain parts of the world.
For sure.
And so you can start to kind of feel that and see that as we get to know these players. And that's why I'm really glad that you called out some of the top players that are happening all around the world, especially as we get closer to the end of the ITC season. Because these players know where they sit in the rankings. Like no one is number 2 and doesn't know it, and so they're going to be taking things that either help them get to that next stage or help maintain where they're at right now. And those means they're the ones that are going to like probably be more competitive than the other list or other options. So looking forward to see how that shakes out. This is a segment of the show, though, that we transition to something that can be sometimes a little silly, something that has very little to do with Warhammer 40,000 sometimes. This is a segment of the show we call the Fuego Rapido. This is the Pallet Cleanser here as we get towards the end of our journey, the end of our discussion on the bleeding edge of the meta, where we decompress. We've been talking about hard, crunchy numbers and stats and what's better and this, that, and the other. And now we move in to the weekend with chill. or maybe not. Maybe we'd be at each other's throats. But we put up a series of topics where we don't even know what they are yet, and then a clock to run down where we give our hottest takes, sometimes in bitter opposition to each other. Once that clock stops, we abandon the topic, never to return to it again, unless Patreon subscribers.
I like this topic.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a theme.
This is going to be a very, very Warhammer theme. We're talking about teams metas, and there's a new little thing at the end of this I'm going to try this week and see if we like it. That's very Fuego Rapido, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Until then, this is Warhammer Teams meta analysis. Fuego, let's go. Advantage or disadvantage to play in the singles event right before the team event?
If you traveled more than 2 time zones, it's a disadvantage.
Fair.
That's a good take. That's a very good take.
That is actually very crisp.
This came up because France was like dominated the singles event and then won the teams event right afterwards.
Guess how many time zones they traveled?
Yeah, exactly. from
Zero.
From France
Yeah.
to Belgium.
They drove 3 hours
They
north.
drove 3 hours to get there. So
It's
that's,
probably more than
that is a
that,
very
I
good
couldn't make
point.
it to the airport in time. That took them to
That's a very good point.
Yeah. So France absolutely dominated the singles, having like 8 of the top 12
Yeah.
players in the singles, and then won the whole shebang at WTC. I think it's a disadvantage.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
After having seen and experienced a bunch of WTCs, I actually think it's a genuine disadvantage. I'm all for it, and I'm still all for it if players want to get the most out of their WTC experience, because who knows if they're going to be selected for a team next year. Nobody can put their hand up and be like, I am going to be here next year 100%. Life changes, kids, families, jobs. So get the most out of your experience. Absolutely. Like, I know the New Zealander boys who came over this year, like the War Master GT and then the WTC were the 2 biggest events they'd ever played in their lives. And unless they go to the LVO, they're probably going to be the biggest events they ever play in their in all. So that is just like a thing you can't really.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and in addition, I always back people who aren't in the local to the European meta to play in that meta, because people play differently in Europe than they do in, like, say, Australia, New Zealand, United States, Canada, Mexico, etc. So I think it's always a good thing to play day one, but committing to play the entire thing no matter what, I think it's a disadvantage.
I really like Paul's take with that, depending on how many.
I actually really
like that one. I'm going to go with that
how
one.
quick.
Yeah, he had that ready too. That was really good. All right, next one. The 3 factions or lists that teams will have the least preparation for that will do well.
Easy.
Oh, you just got
Oh,
The one from this year was AdMech.
Yep.
Poland's AdMech was just a freaking slam dunk ace in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if we were to play WTC right now, it would be AdMech. Arguably, it would be GSC.
Yeah.
And the third one, I think if I was going to say,
that would do well. That's part of the
Hey.
And the third one, I think, would be Demons. If I had to pick,
okay,
I had to pick, it'd be Demons.
Really? Why is that?
Sweden's Demons did extremely well in their lineup, like really well, impressively well. And I think there's something there now that we've seen how well they can do in one of the top ranking teams. That were playing off for first place in the final. Sweden was, even though I think they finished 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
They were playing off for the win, and they had a Demons list that was doing really, really well. There's one other, but I'll let Paul speak before I mention
that. So Crypt.
Ooh, there's a take.
There's no way you're serious.
You made me stop speaking to say that.
This is
I didn't even say anything.
This is what we waited for.
No, okay. Actually, orcs.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I really think orcs are going to get a buff come the next balance, because I think it's clear to see that what happened to them was a bit heavy-handed. I 100% agree. Orcs, I think there could have been a list at WTC where orcs could have done really well, and in teams in totality, I think orcs could be played in a couple of skewed ways. It was a Dread Mob gun line at Nova that did really well, playing like 20 looters, 30 flash kits, and that thing wrecked.
And that's kind of where I was going. So I think there's more depth in the Orc Codex that people are suspecting at the moment, and then sometimes they can kind of just go on a hot streak.
Yeah. The last one I wanted to caveat is that it's a list that I think will do extremely well, but it's a list that everyone has prep into, and that's Imperial Knights. Everyone knows what to expect from Imperial Knights, but they're a list that is continuing to overperform in the meta at the moment,
That's true.
or at least from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that too, for sure. All right, next up. Best attacker faction in the game right now.
So usually the best attacker faction would be the best faction in the game. Is the best attacker faction. So in this case, the default would be Sisters, but I think we can go a bit deeper than that.
Yeah, well, let's talk about. We got 2 SKU lists that are made specifically to go into probably whatever is considered the best in the game right now, which should be those kind of attacker lists. What would those be?
I want to say World Eaters.
World Eaters is a good one.
And the reason I say that is because I think that once if you put out the World Eaters and they have to match up against it, you're taking one of 2 great lists out of the mix. So you're giving yourself an advantage.
So when you attack in, obviously you don't have table pick. So it wants to be something that is table agnostic. And essentially, as long as you're not playing on the light table, World Eaters, to Paul's credit, is always a good pick. Yep. Just don't get them trapped on the light table. The World Eaters can at least just go threaten everybody and tie the game by, I can't come close or I die. So, you just zone them out of the middle of the table. I still back the Sisters pick. I back I think Dark Angels Gladius would be what I would chuck down at the moment.
Oh.
or Thousand Suns.
Thousand Suns. I feel like that one's just like an all-rounder. Like you put that anywhere.
Exactly right. Yeah. Well, that's what I think of both of those.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, Dark Angels, I think, smashes Thousand Suns, and it's one of their only real bad red matchups. But those two, as attackers, I think either one of those is just ubiquitously good. There's nothing, as the Dark Angels player myself, there's nothing I would be fearful of getting absolutely annihilated by when I was put up as an attacker. Like I don't really mind. It's good. It's good into hordes. It's good into shooting lists. Good into combat lists. It's got tricks here, there, and everywhere. It may not win every game, but you're not going to get blown out by anybody. I don't believe.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Like I think I'm on the World Eaters train for this one. I like them. As
if we're going to be real silly,
huh?
The actual answer to this question is 120 Primaris Crusaders.
I mean, yeah.
It's actually the answer.
Not wrong.
It is. Yeah, it is actually the answer.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Every matchup is good for them.
Every matchup is good. Just let's just go.
I mean,
throw them out.
Because the worst case scenario is you just swamp the middle of the table, never try and make it to their deployment zone, beat their brakes off on the primary, and lose in every other facet of the game. But that's probably still a tie.
Yeah, probably.
That's probably like a 10-10. Is like the worst case. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. And then obviously the opposite of that, the best defender faction in the game right now. The one you put the first, let's say first defender.
120 Primaris Crusaders.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have a player that has 120 Primaris Crusaders on your team.
Beg and borrow. Start an internet chat group.
Where's your local buy and sell trade group for Warhammer?
All those Crusaders.
So the best defender doesn't necessarily have to be a list that's going to get a big win. It's going to be a list that will threaten to blow somebody up because it's got a pick on table. I say my best defender right now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was going to say Astra Military. Yeah. If they're built exclusively to be a defender, there's very few people that can go into them with confidence on table pick.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you think, Dustin? You got any other picks? Because I think there's some relatively good nid lists that are great.
There are some very good nid lists that I would put as a defender for sure. Like guard is probably the best one. I think you're right on that one. If we're going to go a little bit deeper, I think nids are definitely one of the top ones, and I think Tau are actually a good one for it too.
Yeah, Tau are extremely good. For the point that I don't necessarily think I love Tau as a first defender.
No,
but as a second or a third, I think they're exceptional.
Yeah, and
I think we're talking
clear. We're talking the turn 3 up. Is it the Kalyan? That's the turn 3 up.
Yeah, Kalyan is the back half of the game.
Back half. Yeah, that's the defender list. If you're
no, front half.
Is it?
No, Monkar's front half.
Oh, right, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the Kalyan, whatever one is the back half, I'm pretty sure it's the Kalyan. That's the one that is the defender. The Monka could actually be, if it's built right, can actually be a very scary attacker into the right list. They can just get rid of everything early on, and they kind of have to. Let's be real, because once it goes to turn 3-4, like okay, I hope I'm still.
So, just got to throw this one out there because France did win the WTC, and their first defender was almost exclusively their Death Guard list.
Death Guard has always been a good defender. I think they're understood to be a really good defender.
Yeah.
In any meta.
Not respected as much.
Not respected.
Not
yeah.
respected enough.
They can tech
Yeah.
their list in like 2 or 3 different ways. The Death Guard and
Exactly right.
Yeah, they
You
can
could
put
easily tech.
Mortarion and a Knight and a bunch of.
Well, you tech it into the anti-combat stuff, and all of a
Yes.
sudden they can't use their Blood Angels and their World Eaters.
Well, exactly.
And all of
You
a
do
sudden
that,
it makes it messy for them.
Flag Marines with fight first all over the
Yeah.
place. Like that's
And then you have to pick a shooting matchup for them because you can't put your melee in there, and then they pick the heavy table because they're first defender, and
Yep.
then you've just made a dog's breakfast out of what your opponent hoped to have and do to your Death Guard.
That's right.
digging on that.
All right. And your top 8 faction list for 8-player teams right now. Let's go, guys. What does your 8-man look like?
Black Templar is in there for
100%.
sure.
Really?
we're big
Like,
fans
80
of
Black
that,
Templar,
yeah.
specifically the Primaris span.
It's
Yeah, the 80
Yeah.
80 plus Crusaders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, 100% agree.
Yep.
I do think that France showed that what's better than one Horde list is a second one. So I think Chaos Space Marine Horde
Yep.
with Max Accursed Cultist. It doesn't have to be, 130 cultists like Guardsmen and Cultists, Trader Guardsmen to back that up. But I think Max Accursed Cultist and 50 plus like Guardsmen and or Cultist bodies would be in that as well, 100%.
I like it. I like it
I
so
think
far.
Tyranids is in there, and
Yep.
and Astral
Yeah,
Terram is in
all right.
there.
I like hearing
Yeah.
that.
I think Tyranids in there. I think Astra Militarum is in there. I think Thousand Suns is 100% in there.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Can't not have Thousand Suns. I think Sisters is in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I wanted to be writing this down. So we got Thousand Suns, Sisters, Templars Horde, CSM Horde, Tyranids. We need 3 more. Grey Knights. I'd put-
Great, but see, I feel like almost everyone knows the Grey Knights number now. Like the Grey Knights don't have tricks today.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's fair.
okay.
I still think they're likely to make a top spot, but we'll shelve them for now. We can put them to the side and add them in at 8th pick if we need
Yep.
to.
Sure.
What
Depending on
else?
how Seagler does. Adeptus Mechanicus.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, Adeptus Mechanicus. If you have if I was just like picking based on no matter what, I'm going to have a superstar player for this. Adeptus Mechanicus makes every single best 8 pack.
In a night list, if we haven't said that already.
Yep. Whichever one night player you've got, it doesn't matter. We'll take a night list. And
Yep.
one more. What do we got that's better than Grey Knights for the last pick? Eldari showed that they didn't hang well at WTC.
We haven't said Necrons. Necrons will do well.
That's it.
That's
There's
true.
the pick.
We have Necrons.
I was going to say it's either Grey Knights, Necrons, or World Eaters for the last pick. So what do we have? We had Sisters, Thousand Suns, Space Marine Horde, Chaos Space Marine Horde. We had a Night list. We had Necrons. We had Tyranids, and we had what's the last one? Guard. Yeah. I like that. I like that APAC.
Yeah, I like that. I think the only way we go World Leaders if our Space Marine player was like a Blood Angels or Dark Angels Gladius or something kind of parallel with that one.
Yes.
But because we're doing the Horde with CSM, well, because we're doing the Horde with the Black Templar, then the CSM Horde makes sense to pick up that one.
Yeah, I don't think we need World Eaters in that matchup. We got enough melee in that
like
lineup. And the Knights is a one as well. We could exchange the Knights for the Grey Knights because 5.
That's true.
It's just the same thing. 5 Dread Knights is the same as a different spicy night list. So you can always be like either a night list or the Grey Knight list is almost interchangeable depending on your player and the rest of the stuff.
Yep, that's true.
I like that.
That is true.
I like that a lot.
We just need 5 more folks.
Yeah, there we go. We almost
Yeah.
got
In a
this.
country.
That's true. In the country.
So the United States, Australian, and Canadian lineups for next year's WTC was just decided. We will inform them via pigeon at a later date.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, this is the bonus one. So we have to put up 2 minutes on the clock and just keep naming off situations for the Gambit meme. For those of you that don't know,
Okay.
you have not been on the internet in the last couple weeks. All right, so this is from the Deadpool Wolverine movie. Do you know what I'm talking about, Adam?
I've not seen it as of
Really?
yet, but I've seen the meme. I've seen the memes.
Oh,
You've seen the
No.
memes. Okay, you've seen the memes. That's all that matters for this one. So you know the meme that I'm talking about. Do you know
Yeah.
how long I've been waiting for this? Whoo, I'm about to make a name for myself. Yeah. All right. You ready? We'll
Yep.
go.
For my hot pocket to be hot enough but yet not explode in the microwave.
That was good.
For the housing market to crash and housing be affordable again.
Ooh, that's a good one.
For cargo shorts to come back in style.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
Jeez.
That's really good.
I got to carry this one, man.
You do have to carry this one.
Buffets open again.
Great call. The brisket my mate's been smoking for 36 hours.
Ooh.
Sorry, did I say 36? I meant 72.
Oh, God. My mouth's full already. Chat, you can jump in on this too.
Yeah, Chat can get in on this as well. The wash on the bases for the Scion, the 15 Scions I've been working on to dry.
When you get that one eye painted correctly and you're about to go in for the second one on
Yeah.
Rocking up to your first 40K major.
Oh yeah. Making a 9-inch charge from reserve.
Oh yeah, there it is.
There it is. Yeah. That's a good one.
That's specifically from Deep Strike on bottom of turn 5 with your Warlord to secret mission.
That's it.
Oh,
secret mission Warlord, make the 9.
When you're cutting your grass and the last strip is the exact width of your lawnmower.
Ooh. That's a premium. That's a premium.
That is a very satisfying
That's
one.
a great
like
choice. Yep. When you're at a restaurant and you see the waitress come past and she just like 4 or 5 laps, she's got plates of food that look like your food. She doesn't stop at yours. And then bang, here it comes. She stops. Yeah.
That was good. I like that. That was good, guys.
Yeah, I think we can make this reoccurring.
For sure.
I enjoyed that.
That was fun. All right. We could definitely do that again. But that's
the lawnmower one hit me right in.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful, Paul.
That's kind of stuff just makes my day.
It really does. Like, I don't know what it is, but because I guess we all mow the lawn, right? So we get that feeling. Like, yes, that is good stuff. That is good stuff.
Do you guys mow in a strip or do you do laps?
It goes whatever. I don't really.
Depends on if my neighbor's out mowing at the same time. Because my front lawn goes over to both neighbors, and one of them mows my side, the other one doesn't. So if one of them is out at the same time as me, and we're the ones that mow each other's lawn, that's kind of an awkward showdown. All right, one of us is going to do this first.
One of your neighbors gets a Christmas card, I see.
Exactly.
Well, that is our show this week, and it is a pleasure to be back. Thanks for everybody that tuned in live. Thank you to everybody that tuned in after the fact on the podcast aggregators. Please do not forget to interact with the show. Leave us those 5-star reviews, a thumbs up. Look, if you're not someone that leaves reviews, know that this is the show you could leave a review for because it matters to us. We're going to see each and every one of them. So leave us those 5 stars. It means a whole lot because that's one of the ways that the aggregators know to alert the show to other people so they come and hang out. Maybe they hang out in the chat. Maybe they learn something. Maybe they get an idea for a new unit to take to the next event. Who knows? But do that for us. It means a whole lot. Leave some comments. We love talking to y'all. It's been a pleasure.
Always is.
And we're back. We'll be back next
week, baby.
And the week after, and so on and so forth. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss any of this, especially as we get close to the finale for the World Championships of Warhammer. Figure out who's the top spots for the ITCs.
We also have the LGT coming up pretty soon, so that's going to be another absolute slobber knocker.
Boom!
It's going to be awesome.
Exciting stuff.
Good night, everybody. We'll see y'all soon.
We'll see you next
week. Good night.